Hello, Hanan.
Good morning, Afalake. How are you? You're looking very pretty this morning.
Very yellow and bright here. That's the morning call color.
Exactly.
Well, today I'm going to be talking about traveling solo on Africa, as an African woman actually. I've seen several female bloggers writing about their experiences, basically challenges of traveling around the world solo. Most of them from the Western world, but I guess the experience might be a bit different for a dark-skinned woman, more so traveling around the African continent. Now, I'd also like to visit the continent like Namibia dunes, the Nakil Depression of Ethiopia. It's a spectacular sight of dry land and bubbling pool of lava. The Sinjo Road of Madagascar, a magnificent collection of red needled rock. And then the Namakwe land of South Africa, an exceptional landscape blanketed with thousands of bright flowers. Or even the forgotten pyramid of Sudan. Hopefully when I get my African passport, these are the few things I'd love to do. But to be quite frank, for African, in most tradition, women are not readily allowed to travel alone. But you might be asked questions like, where's your husband? Why are you traveling alone? Why are you not married yet? But most likely, you'd get a marriage proposal. In fact, we've seen some cases of female independent travelers from the West getting proposals from men. Because in some areas, it's believed that white women are rich and getting married to them would solve their problems. Well, in some cultures, being a woman means that you have to follow certain rules. You have to abide by these rules to avoid the problems from the locals. In some part of Morocco, for instance, women don't go inside cafes like likewise, in Muslim countries, women are expected to cover their hair, their hands, their legs, or their entire body. Well, it's not all a bed of roses. Those who have gone through that part have shared their experiences. Yasmin Fejani is an African female blogger. She writes about tourist destinations and she's visited quite a number of places around the world. Well, in fact, most of the illustrations that you're watching are from Yasmin. It's a pleasure to have you on the segment. You have a growing pool of followers on the social media. In your bio on Instagram, you wrote about "I left my heart in Africa." Can we say that your page is focused on showcasing Africa differently by presenting newer images of destinations you pick?
Maybe the fact that I'm based in Dubai, so there's a lot of people here that are really not familiar with Africa. Maybe if you say like places like Morocco or something that are very popular, so lots of people know about it and have seen images. But what I really like is when I go to other places that are maybe less mainstream. Like I've been to Lamu, for example, in Kenya. I've been to Saint-Louis in Senegal, and I've had like so much response from people about how they've never heard of this place, and now they just love it through the pictures, and then now it's encouraging them to actually go and visit. So it's really, I want to show people, the everyday part of Africa, and maybe that's as popular places always. I mean, obviously there's also the big cities that you also want to see, but that's what I really like. I want to show people that it's beautiful. There's just so much to see, and like we're blessed with like so much, in terms of nature, in terms of people, and that our youth is there, and they're trying to do so much, So I would say that, definitely showing a different side of Africa, not just poor people and people are struggling and things like that, which is true, it's part of it, but that's not everything. I'm also a curator for like this other page on social media that's called Dynamic Africa Photo, and we also try to do that. We try also to show not just the main Africa countries or cities that people know about, but we're trying to really look more deep and showcase other talents, what other pictures people are taking.
Well, based on your experience, what's the biggest challenge of traveling in Africa?
Traveling in Africa can be quite costly, especially when you go to a place and then you want to try and see a country that's nearby, or maybe like another city. The flights are not usually always available, or the buses and trains are not always the options that you can get easily. So that's one of the things. Another thing, maybe not for me because I'm from Africa, and usually I can travel a lot of places without visa. But sometimes I've had other friends with me coming that were not from Africa, and then to get visas were a bit more complicated. So I think that's one of a second thing maybe that was a challenge. And also, how other places are a bit more developed in terms of Airbnb and the options that you get where to stay, when you go to places where you don't have like friends or family. So it's getting there. Depending on the country, some countries are more advanced than others. But I feel like usually you often have like the high end expensive hotels and then the mid-range kind of travel, budget is not always well covered, I would say.
Thanks, Yasmin, for sharing your insight. For those who might want to see a page on Instagram, our handle is at Yasmin, like at LAYASMEEN. Well, that's what I've prepared for you this week on the travel segment. Thanks for watching.